Imagination is not merely a tool for fantasy or daydreaming. It is the very foundation of creation. Everything you experience in the physical world was once imagined, whether by you or someone else. The chair you sit on, the building you live in, even the phone or screen you're using to read this, each originated as a mental picture in someone's mind. When you begin to understand this, you realize that your imagination isn't passive. It's a creative force. Before sleep, your mind slips into a state that bridges the conscious and the subconscious. This is the moment when imagination becomes especially powerful. In this drowsy, relaxed state, you are most impressionable, and whatever you feed your mind has a direct path into your deeper consciousness. When you consciously choose to imagine what you desire, clearly, vividly, and emotionally, you are planting seeds in the soil of the universe. To ask the universe before sleep, imagination becomes your language. You don't ask with words alone. You ask with pictures, sensations, and emotions. Imagine the scene you would live if your desire were already fulfilled. See it clearly. Feel it as if it's happening now. Let it move through your senses. Imagine touching, smelling, hearing, and living the result. When you persist in this inner experience with conviction, the outer world has no choice but to shape itself in response. In this sacred moment before sleep, imagination is not just pretend, it's instruction. You are instructing the infinite intelligence within you to bring forth what you have chosen to accept as real. The outer world will echo the inner world. When you make imagination your reality internally, it becomes reality externally. The state of sleep is sacred because it is the doorway between the conscious and the subconscious mind. In those moments just before drifting off, your mind enters a transitional phase, neither fully awake nor fully asleep. It is here, in this quiet, receptive space, that the conscious mind loosens its grip and the subconscious becomes most excessive. This is the time when the impressions you make carry the most weight, when your inner conversations, beliefs, and mental images sink deeply into the soil of your being and begin to take root. Sleep is not just rest for the body, it is a reset for the mind and spirit. During sleep, the mind reorders and processes what it has received throughout the day. But more than that, it also begins to create from what you gave it just before surrendering consciousness. What you feed your mind in the final moments of wakefulness becomes the instruction manual for the night, guiding the subconscious to accept, explore, and begin to unfold that reality. This is why those moments before sleep are not to be wasted on fear, regret, or random thought. They are too powerful, they are too fertile. In this state, the boundary between the seen and unseen is thinnest, and your ability to impress upon the unseen realm is at its highest. The universe listens most intently as you fall asleep, and whatever belief or vision you give it becomes your request, delivered directly without resistance. You do not need effort, struggle, or repetition in this state. You need only clarity, feeling, and presence. When you deliberately choose your thoughts and images before sleep, you are shaping your reality from the most sacred place of power. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to mentally and emotionally occupy the state of having your desire right now. It means no longer wishing, hoping, or longing for something to happen, but embodying the truth that it already has. This is not about pretending or faking it. It's about entering a deeper dimension of consciousness where your desire exists, and allowing yourself to live from that state before it shows up in the physical world. When you assume the feeling, you're not just imagining the outcome. You are feeling the emotional reality of it. If what you wanted were already yours, how would you feel? Peaceful, grateful, empowered, loved? You move into that emotional frequency as if the event had already occurred. You begin to think from the end, not of the end. This simple yet powerful shift transforms your internal world and gives a silent command to the universe. The subconscious does not distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you fall asleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your subconscious accepts it as truth and begins working to align your outer world with that inner state. You may not know how or when the manifestation will come, but it's not your job to figure that out. Your only responsibility is to assume the state and persist in it. This assumption becomes your identity. You are no longer someone who wants. You are someone who has. This identity brings with it new thoughts, behaviors, and expectations that subtly but powerfully shift your reality. The universe responds not to what you say you want, but to who you are being. When you become the version of yourself who already lives the result, the external world must eventually conform. To live in the end is to mentally dwell in the reality where your desire is already accomplished. It means removing your attention from current circumstances and placing it fully on the outcome you wish to experience. Instead of looking at life through the lens of what is missing, you shift your awareness to what has already been fulfilled. This is not about ignoring reality, but about choosing a higher truth, a vision that overrides temporary appearances. When you live in the end, you become the person who already has what you once thought. You think their thoughts, feel their emotions, make their decisions, and carry their energy. You no longer seek reassurance because you no longer identify with lack. The desire is not ahead of you, waiting to arrive. It is behind you, already part of your life. You bring the end to the present moment and rest in it. This mental posture is powerful because it redefines your relationship with the universe. You are not chasing outcomes, you are aligning with them. You don't ask, when will it happen? Because in your inner world it has already happened. Your assumptions, actions, and inner dialogue begin to reflect that truth. This alignment sends a clear, unwavering signal, and the world, being a mirror, has no choice but to adjust. Living, in the end, is a form of trust. It requires the courage to ignore what is and invest in what can be. It requires discipline to return again and again to the feeling of completion, even when nothing around you seems to confirm it. But when you do, you are no longer reacting to the world, you are creating it from within. Inner speech creates outer results, because the conversations you have with yourself shape your beliefs, your emotions, and ultimately your reality. Every thought you repeat, every assumption you hold, and every story you tell yourself internally becomes a blueprint that the outer world follows. What you whisper to yourself in the silence of your mind is far more powerful than what you say out loud, because it is continuous and deeply rooted. The mind is always speaking, whether consciously or unconsciously. Most people live unaware of their inner dialogue, allowing fear, doubt, or limitation to run on autopilot. But once you become conscious of this internal conversation, you gain access to the creative center of your being. By choosing the content of your inner speech deliberately, you begin to reprogram your reality from the inside out. When you speak to yourself from the state of already having what you desire, you align your thoughts with the version of yourself who lives that truth. This means replacing phrases like, I hope it happens, or I don't know if I can, with, it is done and I am already living it. The energy of conviction starts within. Your subconscious listens attentively to your inner voice and accepts it without question. Over time, these repeated statements crystallize into beliefs, and beliefs shape perception, and perception determines what you experience. Whether you affirm success or failure, love or rejection, growth or stagnation, your inner dialogue instructs your world. It is not a matter of whether inner speech works, but how you are using it. Every word becomes a seed, and every feeling behind it adds to its power. When you master the art of speaking to yourself with intention and clarity, your reality begins to reflect the script you've been rehearsing in the quiet. I drop the how, focus on the what, because the how belongs to the universe, not to you. When you fixate on the method by which your desire will come, you place unnecessary limitations on an infinite intelligence that can bring your vision to life in ways you could never imagine. Trying to control the path restricts possibilities and creates resistance. The mind, when obsessed with figuring out the steps, often loops in doubt and worry, weakening the power of your intention. Your only role is to define clearly what you want and to inhabit the state of already having it. The more vivid and emotionally charged your vision, the more magnetic it becomes. The universe responds not to your strategy, but to your clarity. It takes the essence of your desire and orchestrates events, encounters, and opportunities in ways that are perfectly timed and aligned with your inner state. Focusing on the how is often rooted in fear. Fear that it won't happen unless you control it. Fear that something must be done urgently or perfectly. But this fear only reinforces the idea that your desire is far away. In contrast, when you trust the unseen process and stay emotionally grounded in the feeling that it is already yours, You allow space for the unseen forces to work. The what is your signal, your request, your creative spark. The how is the delivery system, which is not your concern. You are not the architect of the mechanics. You are the author of the vision. Let the universe do its work while you do yours, holding the image, embodying the feeling, and living in alignment with the reality you've chosen. Make your last thoughts divine instructions, because the mind is most impressionable in the moments just before sleep. At this threshold between waking and sleeping, your conscious defenses relax, and your subconscious becomes highly receptive. Whatever thoughts you dwell on in that quiet transition are accepted more deeply than at any other time of day. In this sacred space, your final thoughts do not simply fade into dreams. They act as commands, shaping the direction of your subconscious activity while you sleep. The subconscious does not reason or filter. It receives and accepts the dominant impressions given to it. So if your last thoughts are filled with worry, doubt, or regret, those become the silent instructions carried into the depths of your being. But if your thoughts are filled with peace, gratitude, and a clear vision of what you desire, you are programming your inner world to align with that reality. This is why intentional thinking before sleep is so powerful. You are not merely going to bed. You are planting seeds in the most fertile soil of your consciousness. These seeds take root and begin to influence your beliefs, emotions, and even the circumstances you encounter in the days ahead. When your last thoughts are guided, chosen, and elevated, they become more than fleeting ideas. They become divine instructions for the unseen part of you that never sleeps. You don't need effort or repetition. One sincere, vivid moment of imagining your desired outcome, paired with the feeling of certainty, can echo through the subconscious with lasting effect. By ending each day with a mental image or inner conversation that reflects your highest vision, you align your inner world with the outcomes you wish to create. The universe listens most clearly when the outer world is quiet, and in that stillness before sleep, what you choose to think becomes what you ultimately begin to live. Emotion fuels creation because it is the energy that gives life to thought. A mental image without feeling is like a seed without water, present but dormant. When you combine imagination with genuine emotion, you activate a powerful force that moves your desire from concept to reality. The universe responds not just to what you think, but to how you feel about what you think. Emotion is the vibration that carries your intention into the deeper layers of consciousness where real change begins. Every desire carries an emotional signature, whether it's joy, freedom, love, or peace. What you truly seek is not the external thing itself, but the feeling you believe it will bring. When you generate that emotion now, before the outer result, you collapse the illusion of distance between you and your desire. You are no longer waiting for something to happen to feel fulfilled. You are creating the feeling now and letting that emotional energy magnetize the experience to you. Strong, consistent emotion impresses the subconscious more deeply than words or thoughts alone. It bypasses logic and speaks directly to the creative intelligence within. This is why a deeply felt moment of gratitude, excitement, or relief while imagining your desire can be more powerful than hours of passive visualization. The emotion anchors the scene in reality. It tells the subconscious, this is real, this matters, this is who I am. Emotion also sets the tone for action. When you dwell in the emotional state of already having what you want, you begin to act, speak, and move in alignment with that version of yourself. You attract ideas, people, and situations that resonate with your emotional frequency. It is not about forcing results, but about radiating the energy that naturally brings those results to you. The more sincerely and consistently you generate the emotion tied to your fulfilled desire, the more effortlessly your outer world begins to reflect it. Persist regardless of current reality, because outer circumstances are always a reflection of past thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. They are delayed echoes of what you once accepted as true, not a verdict on what is possible now. If you judge your progress or your potential based on what currently is, you trap yourself in a loop where your attention reinforces the very conditions you wish to change. To persist is to look beyond appearances and remain loyal to the unseen vision within you. even when the physical world offers no confirmation. Persistence is not blind effort or constant struggle. It is a quiet, steady, inner stance. It means returning again and again to the feeling of the wish fulfilled, regardless of setbacks, delays, or doubts. When you persist, you are choosing to live in the reality of your desire, not in the reaction to your environment. The outer world may remain unchanged for a time, but the inner shift has already begun. And if you stay faithful to that shift, the external must follow. Doubt and discouragement often come when results are not immediate, but the true work is done in the invisible, and the delay is often the time needed for alignment, reorganization, and the unfolding of events. Just because you can't see the movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. Like a seed buried underground, the growth is hidden until the moment it breaks through the surface. To persist is to trust that your inner world holds more power than your current conditions. It is to know that what you imagine and feel consistently will eventually solidify into form. You are not being tested by circumstances. You are being asked to remain aligned with what you've claimed. Your reality is always shifting, and your continued belief is what shapes the direction of that change. Treat as the new version of yourself by carrying into rest the identity of the person who already lives the reality you desire. Before you drift into sleep, let go of your old self, the one defined by lack, limitation, or waiting, and consciously step into the state of being who you are becoming. This means not just imagining the outcome you want, but embodying the qualities, feelings, and mindset of that fulfilled version of yourself as you fall asleep. When you sleep, your mind enters a deeply receptive state, where the boundaries between imagination and reality blur. The subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is vividly imagined. It accepts the last impressions you give it as fact. By going to sleep as your new self, you impress your subconscious with a powerful identity that begins to influence your waking life. This identity shift aligns your thoughts, emotions, and actions naturally with the reality you want to experience. Sleeping as the new version of yourself also means releasing resistance. Instead of clinging to old doubts or fears, you rest in the certainty of who you are becoming. This surrender is not passive resignation, but an active choice to trust the unseen process. You allow the transformation to happen beneath the surface, while your body rejuvenates and your subconscious weaves the new reality. When you awaken, you carry traces of this new identity into the day. Your perceptions shift, your confidence grows, and your energy aligns with your goals. Each night of sleep becomes an opportunity to deepen this alignment, to strengthen your belief in the unseen, and to move steadily toward the life you have imagined. Sleep is not merely rest. It is a powerful moment of rebirth into the version of yourself who already has what you desire. As you prepare to ask the universe before sleep, remember this: the power to create your reality lies not in the outside world, but within the sacred moments before you surrender to rest. Your imagination is the gateway, your feelings are the fuel, and your persistence is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. When you choose to live in the end, assume the feeling of your fulfilled desire and make your last thoughts clear and divine instructions. You align yourself with the infinite creative force that shapes all things. Sleep not as someone waiting or hoping, but as the new version of yourself. Already whole, already fulfilled, already free. In this sacred practice lies the secret to manifesting a life beyond your wildest dreams. The universe is listening. Speak clearly, feel deeply, and watch as the impossible becomes inevitable.